Welcome to this SOHO presentation, in which we're proud to introduce our new UC510 IP Office for SOHO product. First, I'd like to give you an overview of the UC510 in terms of its hardware and some of the core features that are on offer. Secondly, I'd like to take a quick tour of the UC510 web-based administration GUI so that we can dive into a little bit more detail into some of the many features on offer from this product. So what is the UC510 IP Office for SOHO? It's an all-in-one solution that offers IP PBX, router, wireless access point, firewall and VPN server. Its primary function is a powerful PBX designed for small businesses and can support up to 10 extensions. It supports 802.11 BG and N for wireless and comes complete with two analog ports, either 2FXO to connect two PSTN lines to, or 1FXO and 1FXS so that we can connect one PSTN line and an analog device such as a fax machine. It has one WAN port, which can be used to connect to an ADSL modem for internet access, and comes complete with four LAN ports, all 10100. Finally, it has two USB ports, which can be used to connect external storage. UC510 offers full PBX functionality for up to 10 extensions, and comes with a host of features that are sufficient to meet the needs of any small business. The WAN port can be configured as static DHCP, PPPoE, or can be configured as an L2TP or PPTP VPN client. The LAN port supports VLAN, so each of the four 10100 Ethernet ports can be configured as a VLAN. UC510 networking features include static routing tables, quality of service, support for IP version 4 and IP version 6, and the UC510 comes complete with a DHCP server. Wireless can be encrypted using various standards including WEP, WPA and WPA2, and the device comes complete with a firewall which is capable of IP port filtering, port forwarding, virtual servers and DMZs. And finally, the UC510 has a VPN server which supports L2TP and PPTP. So why purchase the UC510? Well, we believe we have a great product at a fantastic price. It's an easy return on investment for any business, as you can consolidate several devices into a single all-in-one solution. There's no software licensing, just a one-off investment for the hardware, and we offer free software updates for the life of the product. The built-in IP PBX uses asterisks, and therefore you're guaranteed a best-of-breed unified communication solution. And finally, SOHO is a partner you can trust, and we are a leading supplier of IP telephony systems. I'd now like to give a quick tour of the UC510 administration GUI. This will give you a better understanding of the features on offer with the UC510. If you've used SOHO products before, you'll recognise this interface. From this screen, we can log into the UC510. We log in using admin and a password of admin. I want to change my administration password. And we arrive at the home status. This screen shows us the status of the network and of the analog ports. You see the WAN port is up, Wi-Fi is on, and we have two connections on the LAN. As this is a beta version, I don't have the analog modules installed, but if I did, they would show here. I can get a summary of the network status, showing the WAN, LAN, and if enabled, VLAN. PBX operator shows a status of the PBX system, so I can see all the extensions. Here I have one live extension, 800. If I had live trunks, then they would be shown below, including VoIP trunks and analog trunks. Under PBX, under extensions, We have extensions, we can define trunks, and we can define outbound routes. In extensions, there are 10 by default. We can either edit these or we can delete and create new ones. We can add in multiple users at one time. If I click on edit on an extension, we can see some of the key features. So we support SIP endpoints or IAX endpoints. We can put in an email address to receive faxes or voicemails. Here voicemails are enabled by default. As well as voice, we can do video calls if we so wish. Inbound control defines how we handle inbound calls, either from the PSTN, from the internet. Inbound routes gives us plenty of flexibility. So port DIDs relate to the PSTN trunk, number DIDs, DODs. You can create an IVR, which is a great way of automating the answering of inbound calls. Here we have 2 by default. If we edit one, you can see how easy it is to customize an IVR on the UC510. Go to IVR prompts. There are some here by default, but we can create our own by clicking new voice. Call queues allows the phones to act as agents, and inbound calls will come to a queue. Ring groups allows a collection of extensions to ring together. You can add blacklisted numbers into the UC510, and these will not be allowed to make calls to the system. And a powerful feature is time-based rules. If we edit this, you can see that you can define a time, a day, a date, and a month. And we can define what happens if this time is matched, or what happens if this time does not match. If I take a look under the advanced section, and we can see a host of features that can be configured. Under advanced options, we can set the global settings for our analog and SIP trunks. Under analog, I can make changes to the caller ID. Under SIP, I can make various changes, including defining NAT support if the PBX is located behind a firewall. Voicemail tab makes changes to global voicemail settings if required. And I can also define my email template that can be used for sending emails with attached voicemails. This requires an SMTP server, which we define here. Under music settings, we can define what music the PBX will play. And under music management, I can even upload my own files if I require. Deezer is a remote access solution to allow an outbound caller to use internal features on the PBX. Follow Me allows me to set multiple alternate numbers against my extension. In the event I'm away from the office, it will call each of the available numbers. With pin sets, I can set security on my outbound calls by forcing users to type in the pin set. Speed dial allows me to set short codes against my commonly used phone numbers. Smart DID is a useful feature that allows me to set intelligent routing on certain types of inbound calls. Callback is another feature that allows external users to interact with the PBX. And the UC510 also has a corporate phone book. Here on feature codes, our quick dials are defined for things such as do not disturb, blacklist, voicemail, call queues. and the UC510 supports phone provisioning. Currently, the following manufacturers are supported. And finally, on advanced, we can set the language for the PBX. And finally, from a PBX perspective, the UC510 has some advanced reporting capabilities, which I'll quickly demonstrate. Register status shows me the status of all extensions and trunks connected to the UC510. As we can see here, my extension 800 is connected, OK. Call logs shows me all activity of inbound and outbound calls. We can select the date and filter against specific extension numbers if required. And finally, we can enable login of the device. The reports can then be downloaded. That concludes our look at the PBX capability of the UC510 and some of the many features on offer. I'd now like to take a quick look at the networking and routing side of the UC510. So if we go under router gateway, if we first go to WAN, we can see that we can configure the WAN port to any one of the listed. On LAN, we can set the 4 Ethernet ports. We can configure them as VLANs. And also on this page, we can configure the DHCP server. Static routing allows us to define our static routing tables if required. We can set quality of service. We can enable IPv6 if we require it. By default, it's IPv4. And we can see a list of DHCP clients. Here is my extension 800 that we showed earlier in the PBX setup. Under wireless, we can configure the wireless environment. So we can set our basic settings, such as SSID. There are some advanced options. And we can define the security with which the wireless will operate. We can view statistics on the wireless connections. And we can set up protected mode if required. UC510 comes complete with built-in firewall. All the common features you would expect are included. So we can port filter based on MAC address or IP. We can change certain security settings to enable or disable to meet our requirements. It supports port forwarding. We can create virtual servers. And we can also create servers within a DMZ. A VPN server is also available within UC510, L2TP or PPTP. And on this tab, as you can see, we can configure VPN users. Finally, let's look at administration. So under management, we can set the system password, NTP settings, and also DDNS if this is a feature you use. Following providers are supported. There's an Activate configuration screen. And we can reset the device to factory defaults if required. The stats page summarizes the system performance. We can upgrade the firmware on the UC510. Backup and restore the configuration. And finally, there is a basic troubleshooting screen where we can ping devices on the network. That completes our presentation and quick tour of the UC510. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.